8 years old, who was playing soccer and going to school, having a life, and how they started giving him the pesticides in his locked room. He started trying to break out. So they tied him down the last few weeks, and they slowly gave him in a feeding tube down his throat the pesticide until they killed him. Now, that's your government, okay? I mean, we're talking, it's run by absolute Jeffrey Dahmers, okay? That's Jeffrey Dahmer stuff. And, you know, I come up to Austin cops multiple times, but I've told you the P.F. Chang story about 4 years ago when it was in the news again about DynCorp running giant child kidnapping rings. And I was getting death threats about talking about it at the time. And my family threatened, but I went ahead and went through that fear, because it isn't fear anymore. It causes rage and commitment. And I walked over to it was a commander and some other cops, and they were all arrogant and haughty, just like everybody else in this godforsaken country going to hell. I mean, but we're about to be judged, man. This country's going to get Germany. Over 20 million Germans died in World War II. Non-military. What, like 2.5 million German soldiers died? You think we're going to get out of this? You think the Soviets got out of it? I mean, this country is going to be destroyed by its own evil, guaranteed, unless we turn away from wickedness. And I said, you know, that DynCorp building right there, that's one of the nationwide centers, and they run child kidnapping rings. It's in the news. Please look it up. And the big cop laughed at me, and he said, I know who they are. I work for them. And he got this feeling of power. And the other cops laughed. And I looked in their eyes. I could tell they weren't involved in any of the child stuff. They just enjoyed the power of being under those black wings. It was almost like I could see a giant 1,000-foot devil, angel, standing over them. And they were under its wings, and they like it. They like being under those black wings. That's where they want to be. Oh, man. And it was just like being punched in the stomach. Not that they laughed at me, but that you could make a joke about something that evil. That you could just out of hand, like I'm supposed to walk over, let's see if, hey, the DynCorp, you know about them. Imagine if it wasn't some big corporation and they were a group doing that to kids. You think the cops want to hear, but instead, no, I guess they work there for security events, and it's like, I know who they are. I work for them. And all the cops are, shining on to that evil. And I could see all of their eternal souls one big step closer to eternal hellfire. And I'm not trying to be a preacher here. It's just what comes out of me. And there's this new big article about this big madam supplying under the police, judges, and top politicians in the recordings. And they couldn't bust them for 5 years because the police were blocking the investigation. The New York Post and others report. And it was the Internal Corruption Bureau that was able to go after her. Wonder how long she's going to live. And, man, this article gets into the little kids locked up in dungeons and everything. I can't read it. If you want to go read it, go read it. Somebody's got to stand up for these children. I mean, I look at how innocent and good children are, and I think about people that want to hurt them. And let me tell you something. You know what I think about doing, don't you? Because you want to do the same thing. And that's a natural response. But we've got to use the info war against these people, and we've got to identify them, and we got to go up against them. And if you know what, if cops and people want to laugh about it, I know there are a lot of police out there that know, and we'll go look this up, and they know we're not making it up, and I don't know what you're going to do about it. Obviously, they're not all bad, or they wouldn't even be busting this group right now. The problem is we have denied evil for so long. I mean, if you're a new listener and you're like, they're not tying kids down and testing pesticides on them until they die. You know what? You better go look it up. Because CPS workers blew the whistle. It was confirmed it was going on. And then the news was like, well, they're going to stop doing it now. And no one got in trouble. And the CPS workers got fired or reassigned that blew the whistle. I mean, they're using national security, trading with the enemy espionage acts against hundreds of reporters in America now that report on corruption. I I mean, we're getting down to the wire here. Of course the people serving evil are a bunch of pedophiles and child rapists. I mean, who else would want to destroy America? Who else would want to sell us out? Who else would want to fund al-Qaeda? Who else would want to put poisons in vaccines, the food and water? I mean, I'm going to give all the enforcers another little message and memo here. And you ignore this at your grave peril. I'm going to give you a message here. Did you get a memo about the vaccines being tainted with cancer viruses and sterilants? Did you get a memo about what they call fluoride in the water with hundreds of deadly chemicals in it? Did you get a memo about GMO in every study sterilizing the rodents within 3 generations that they give it to? Did you see all the public Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundation documents in the 60s planning all this? Do you notice all the health problems in you and your family? Do you know about all the statistics? Do you understand even if you think you're serving the system, because I've seen a lot of weak cowards out there who get into like make-believe. I see this in business and life a lot. You'll see delusional people. They'll say, oh, Alex Jones isn't even a radio host. And they'll go, well, Alex Jones has been discredited and defeated. And it's like a fake victory. It's like announcing you're the king of England and you're not. It's like a culture of delusion. See, I don't live in delusion. I live in reality. I try to live as close to reality as I can get. Doesn't mean I don't look through rose-colored glasses. Doesn't mean I don't have all the answers. The point is, I'm trying to live in reality. I can pull back and look at myself, in the third person, the creepy third person, and say what Alex Jones stands for, because I know myself and I try to know my enemies. And I'm someone committed to a cause of liberty and basic decency and honor, and the system that taps my phones and everything knows that. And that's why all their assaults are about how I'm not real, I'm not good, because by looking at myself and Ron Paul and others who are examples of people standing up and having an effect who are good, not perfect, but our hearts are good, we want to be good, that is a testament to others to be an example so that you can model yourself off of what we've done and be even greater. That's how humans work. So they want to pull down everything good so that you can't recognize good from evil. There is evil in the world. They also want you to deny that's going on when it's the current system we're under, but only point at others and say that's the evil. I mean, look at some of these other headlines. USA Today, Sony patents technique of beaming info directly in the brain. Video games that plug into your brain wirelessly. They've had that stuff for 30, 40 years, the different patents. Now it's all going to be rolled out. And you're not, you think you're already mesmerized by the computer, your iPhone. I remember DARPA 10 years ago or so was in the Baltimore Sun. And they said, yeah, conspiracy theorists will go wild with this, but we are testing through cell towers different wavelengths to calm the public during emergencies. Kind of like the Japanese and U.S. government are on the news. You can pull it up, saying maybe we need to put lithium in the water to make everybody happy. And statins. Maybe Prozac. Well, you go look at the water test in major cities like Dallas. It's hundreds of times what could be there from runoff. They're already adding Prozac to the water. When they do the studies, the major cities, it's not one of the particular designer serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It's a general, high-quality, wide-spectrum, fluoride-based serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So deadly, it's making the fish not care and swim right up and bite on hooks. Shrimp come right up and be eaten by fish. It's just turning them into zombies. Lackadaisical zombies. Of course, the public can't wake up in many cases if they weren't awake before because we've been hit with chemical weapons. People are like, well, why are you risking your life? They could get you. I'm already walking dead. I'm living in a country where we're hit with chemical weapons, psychotronic weapons, and DARPA says, yeah, we got wavelength systems. We're testing them to make you be calm. Remember, I told people 10 years ago they're going to have sound cannons and microwave guns. Oh, you're crazy. It's in government documents now. They're out there. Governments now announce they've got a thing that makes sure you can't talk in courtrooms and on the street where they hit you with tanks, with these beams where no one can talk, that freezes your vocal cords. That was what Associated Press 2 days ago. I mean, okay, you want to serve this system? And now, when you buy the video game, it's going to beam directly into your brain like a wirehead, where you're so addicted to it that you're now in the Matrix. People are being inserted into the Matrix. We're being sucked in to the television, the new drug. It's here. It probably is Armageddon, the devil on the scene, everything. All right, I haven't even gotten into the big news yet, but I've already covered quite a bit of it. We're going to have open phones in the next hour, then a guest for 30 minutes, then more calls. Okay, look, as you know, they're following the exact same script that they used with Libya, that, oh, we're not backing the rebels, and then, oh, we're only aiding them a little bit, oh, we're only going to bomb and send in some special forces to advise. This is not a war. And then they put al-Qaeda in charge, wreck the entire infrastructure, blow up the water treatment plants, the bridges, everything. Blow up the major, hotels, shoot everybody up, start ethnic cleansing. It'll be in the news when they bring down Syria, which there's a good chance they will, that they're killing the minority Muslim groups and the Christians. And it'll just be a footnote like, oh, too bad, things didn't go well there. No, things are going to go very well. And then they're going to say, give your rights up or the Muslims are going to get you, the very ones publicly run by the globalists that run our country. See, America's run by the terrorist. Now, Hillary said 6 months ago, we will never bombard or never fund rebels. Well, they've been funding the rebels. In fact, just a big article came out yesterday that got leaked out of the Pentagon, where this is months ago. They were saying we'll blow up buildings, we'll engage in terror attacks, we'll blame it on the Syrian government in part of the cases, which is exactly what Tarpley said when he went over there, was that the consensus was the snipers were shooting peaceful people as a full spectrum dominance to then say that it was Assad's forces. And I'm not saying that their government isn't doing stuff as well, but you better believe this invasion is not on to bring peace, love, happiness, and patty cake to Syria. Now, here's McCain yesterday saying airstrikes. But again, these are just to aid the protesters who he wants to arm further. Protesters with machine guns and rocket launchers. In the case of Libya, tanks and aircraft. Oh, yeah. So let's go ahead and go to that clip. Here it is.
The United States should lead an international effort to protect key population centers in Syria, especially in the north, through airstrikes on Assad's forces. To be clear, this will require the United States to suppress enemy air defenses in at least part of the country.
Oh.
The ultimate goal of airstrikes should be to establish and defend safe havens in Syria, especially in the north.
All right, let's stop right there.
Which opposition forces can organize.
I'm sorry, where they can organize resistance. I'm sorry, continue. Finish the clip.
Organize and plan their political and military activities against Assad.
Oh, that's enough. Oh. Just like we saw 8-9 months ago in Libya, where they now admit it's upwards of 40,000 people killed, and they're lining the blacks up, who are black Libyans, the Saudi Arabians, people that have come in, and they're killing them. By the way, I get threatening emails. I see videos that are made by Saudi Arabians, saying, you bet we're taking over, and we'll get you too, Jones. I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't want my country over there engaged in this. You guys want to kill each other? Go crazy. But don't send my military. I don't want to be involved. I don't care if you're Iranian, Saudi Arabian, Syrian. I'm an American who just wants my freedom. Don't you get it? It's like the whole Serbia thing. I've gotten death threats before from Albanians and people going, how dare you side with the Serbs, you dirty scum. I'm not siding with the Serbs, Albanians, anybody. I know NATO went in there and blew that country up and ethnically cleansed Serbs as well to destabilize that entire region. And it's wrong, and my military shouldn't be there. Don't you get it? I mean, it's that simple. And then we've got more clips of him saying, arm the rebels. I mean, this is the beginning of World War III.